Good afternoon, Desert Sands Educational Foundation community on Facebook as well as on YouTube. We are continuing our series on Desert Sands mental health services. And with us today, we've got Henry and Elena. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. I'll be the first to say, until I worked at the district office, I don't think I ever saw either of you. So it's a pleasure to meet both of you
Same.
virtually as well as, someday we'll meet physically, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely. As I shared, we're highlighting mental health services in Desert Sands this month, and we have you on. Maybe, Elena, if you can introduce yourself to the Facebook community and what you do for Desert Sands.
Sure. Nice to meet everybody. My name's Elena Labastida. I'm a mental health therapist for Desert Sands Unified School District, and I am stationed at La Quinta High School.
Okay, okay. I don't know if you're aware, but I was there for about 6 years prior to my position where I'm at now. I was at Palm Desert High School last year, and I was at La Quinta for 6. So I spent a lot of good time there. Yeah,
Wonderful.
definitely.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that, Tom.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, definitely. And Henry, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Henry Villeda. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm currently stationed at Indio and Thomas Jefferson Middle School.
Okay, okay. I've spent a lot of time over at Indio lately with their meal distributions.
Oh,
I go over,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I go over there. As we're doing like a live feed here, we go there and do a live feed as well during the actual meal
Oh,
distributions to
no
try and
way.
encourage people to show up. And geez, I'll tell you, we've seen as many as 4,000 views on those videos, so it's pretty impressive,
Wow.
pretty impressive. But why don't we get right to it? Elena, maybe if you could share with us what is mental health?
Well, good mental health is having a positive feeling about ourselves, others, being able to form healthy relationships, and having the resilience, right, to be
Mm-hmm.
able to overcome some of our challenges that life, throws at us.
Okay. Okay. And then, there's always these things with like stigmas about things, right? What is the stigma about mental health, Henry? If you could help me walk
Yeah.
us through that.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, the district's focusing on mental health. This is mental health month, May,
Mm-hmm.
and part of educating and talking about mental health is talking about the stigma. So stigma, really briefly, very simply, is negative stereotypes, negative beliefs, and negative perceptions of mental health illness, and those who struggle with it. So, like,
Okay.
yeah,
And why would you say that those are things that we need to reduce in mental health? And I'll kind of just ask this of either of you. Why do you think these are things that you need to reduce?
Well, so what stigma is a roadblock. It's
Mm-hmm.
a barrier,
Yeah.
right? So stigma causes people to feel ashamed of something that is not in their control. It's something that they don't have any control over.
Right.
And so when we feel that shame, we're not going to seek the help we need to get better. So that's why we need to reduce mental health stigma so that we can seek the treatment we need to
Right.
treat the mental health issues we have.
Okay, and with that, with stigma and stereotypes, all those types of things, there's always factors that contribute to that. Henry, can you go over maybe some of the factors that contribute to helping create a mental health stigma?
yeah. So a lot of times in our communities, in our families, in our societies, just kind of influence how we view mental health illness, and so one way that culture might have influence on our belief system or our family belief system is that mental health illness is not understood or accepted, um, and sometimes the family member who has mental health illness is sometimes blamed, or
Right.
sometimes these false ideas kind of like they're told that, oh, you have a choice to kind
Mm-hmm.
of not have this mental health illness,
Mhm.
or that it's in your head and you kind of just need to be happy. Like, let's say if you have depression, depression is in your head and you just gotta kind of just stop being depressed.
Mhm.
And another one that's kind of common in families and cultures is like the person that has mental health illness sometimes told, oh, you're doing it for attention,
Right.
or that's not real. So it's kind of like this, kind of like we're talking about, it's kind of like this false idea that the person has control
Mhm.
of their health, of their mental health illnesses and symptoms.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And I could see that there's a lot of times even with children, if they live in a household where they have these types of behaviors happening around them, that when I say these behaviors, it's the stigmas, right? The negative stigmas and so forth happen around them,
Mhm.
they're going to easily portray
Mhm.
that in the classroom when they see a student that may have some of those same types of behaviors. Is that correct in saying?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
definitely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And what would you say, Elena? How do you combat some of these things, some of these mental health stigmas? What would be some examples of
Well,
that?
sure, absolutely. And before we get into that, Sean, I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of the false ideas regarding mental
Oh,
health, if that's
please. This is
okay.
yes,
So
definitely. This is your guys' highlight. Please, by all means.
thank you, thank you. So when there is denial of mental illness existing, we what happens with families is there's this perception that it's not me or my family, right?
Right.
Others have it, but we don't, right? Because that's for crazy people. And so this is the types of this stigma leads families to feel shame. But
Mm-hmm.
most important, what it does is the person that's struggling with the mental illness feels shame and once again will not seek out help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we also see in families that don't have language or knowledge or language, right, to be able to describe the mental health issues, what we
Gotcha.
find is that they have developed and a lot of physical symptoms, and that's sort of so we have things such as chronic migraines and pains, right?
Okay.
Chronic stomach issues, also to problems sleeping and problems eating. So these are some of the physical symptoms we see when people do not have the knowledge or language to be able to describe the mental health issues that are happening.
Okay.
And so obviously all of these correct are barriers and roadblocks to being able to seek the treatment needed. So going back to your next question in regards to combating,
Mm-hmm.
one of the ways we combat is talking openly about mental health.
Right.
We have to be able, right, to not um, be silent anymore. We have to be able to share our stories. We have to be able to, one thing that I like to do in talking openly about mental health is letting my family members and my students know I see a mental health therapist,
Right.
because mental health is all about awareness.
Of
It's
course.
all about helping, right? Helping us grow as individuals and becoming more self-aware. And so when we look at it from that perspective, right, it really
Mm-hmm.
reduces stigma.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
Another way we might want to combat mental health stigma is educating ourselves and others regarding stigma. So we may be, or we may hear in our family, right, somebody make a negative comment or remark
Mm-hmm.
about mental illness. So gently correcting them and bringing them back and letting them know, right, that it is a disease, no different than a physical, right, disease. We wouldn't make fun of anybody who had cancer or diabetes,
Right.
right? So why
Right.
would we make fun of an individual with mental illness? So just those gentle reminders, educating others.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I like others to know is I'm in the field because my beautiful grandmother had paranoid. She struggled. She struggled
Okay.
with paranoid schizophrenia.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
a topic that I'm very passionate about.
Of course.
Mhm.
It seems like you know, when you have a passion for something, it's even better to invest yourself in it, right? It's not only just your job, but you have that passion for you to build on and so forth. And one thing that I picked up on with what you're sharing there is it's communication is key, and that's one of the reasons why the Desert Sands is using social media so much to make sure that we get out our message about what's going on, not only just to appease everybody because they're wondering what's going on, but
Mhm.
to know to reduce that stress level a little bit. As soon as
Mhm.
we get information, we want to make sure we get it out. And it seems like, with the stigma with mental health and so forth, as long as we're able to communicate as a family or able to communicate with your loved ones about what's going on, hopefully you'll get the right help and assistance.
Yep, that's the
Yeah.
goal.
Yep, definitely. Definitely. Now, you know, you guys shared some great technical things about what's going on with mental health and so forth. Maybe if you could go about, what was your day like before March 13th, Henry? Like what was your typical day when you were at the school site? How would you meet with students and so forth?
Yeah. So Elena and I, we got hired together this year,
Okay. Okay.
and I just love what the district's doing.
Hmm.
with the social emotional wellness of the students, because it's so important for the well-being of our kids and their ability to learn and to get along with everyone. So Lena and I, we got hired to kind of like a pilot program,
Oh,
and
really? Okay.
and I've coined this term hybrid therapist. So we work with students with who in the special ed education that
Okay.
have IEPs with earned services, and we also assist students in the general population. So that's why we're housed at specific schools,
Okay.
so that every student has access to essentially our services and to a therapist in school.
That is fantastic. I'll tell you, when I started off as an assistant principal about 15 years ago at Page Middle School, and I did school discipline for a good 10 years straight at Page and La Quinta,
Mhm.
it would have been key, absolutely key to have one of you guys on campus to help us out.
Mhm.
Like we have our guidance counselors and so forth, and they're fantastic and they're
Mhm.
great with giving them the great educational plan. But you guys would have just been fantastic to have on those sites, and and I know that you guys are making a vast difference right now at
Mhm.
the school sites. I talked to the site principals. They're very happy with having you guys
Mhm.
on
Thank
properties
you.
and so forth.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off of what you're sharing, especially with COVID-19,
Hmm.
right? What the reality is, mental health and mental illness is really at the forefront right now.
Yeah.
And so we're hearing rises, right, in domestic violence,
Yeah.
right, and also anxiety and depression. So we are hoping that there is definitely an awareness that
Hmm.
mental health is, it's really here to stay. It's a need
Yeah.
that we all have,
Yeah.
and so we don't want to stigmatize anybody that may be struggling with any form of issue with mental
Right.
illness.
And I'll make sure to put it in our comments, and we talked about it before we came online here, that the website that your guys' department has put together is very informative. It has a ton of resources. As I shared, I'll make sure to put it in our comments so people can see and find it. But I'll share that when I was doing discipline and so forth, the way that people reported was like through PSST World, and they did online reporting there. And I also understand we have, is it telehealth that we're also offering our families to, the ability to
Correct.
call in and so forth?
Absolutely. So what telehealth, we have a secure virtual platform.
Okay.
And so what we are doing is we are making calls to our students, and we give them the option, obviously. Not everybody feels comfortable on camera.
Right.
So if a student chooses just to receive a phone call, we are more than happy to give them a call.
Okay.
And for the students that want to participate in on a virtual platform face to face, then we're more than happy as well to meet those needs through telehealth.
Okay. Yeah, it's great that let me just say it's great in what both you guys do for the district. You guys have got huge hearts to want to meet and speak with our students and work with them all the time. So thank you very much, and thank you for wanting to be online today to highlight mental health services in Desert Sands.
No.
As we're closing out, Henry, would you like to say anything to our families or our Facebook viewers or YouTube viewers?
Yeah, and Sean, you kind of touched a little bit about it. Is that we're having a conversation, and it kind of allows people to be more comfortable
Exactly.
to talk about mental health
Mhm.
and to seek out help.
Yes.
And the help is there. So I want to let the families and everyone listening today that there is plenty of help. There are plenty of resources on our district website. Our schools are here to help,
Mhm.
and and just come forward, and the help is there, and we're happy to help.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, communicate with us, and we'll make sure to help you out. Elena, would you like to close us out here, saying anything to our families or maybe some staff members you haven't seen lately?
Sure, sure. Well, first, I would like to thank DSUSD because, as Henry mentioned, Desert Sands was visionary, right? And
Hmm.
starting these pilot programs where there's one of us, right, in one school. In Henry's case, he's in two schools, but you really don't see that in any other school district. What you see is one therapist who's driving around to 10 different schools. And so
Hmm.
when we think of consistency, when we think of really being there for our students in need, right? Desert Sands has been visionary by starting these programs, and I thank them for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I tell you what, we talked about the need for communication, and you just hit the other one right on the head. It's all about relationships. You know, if you're at
Mhm.
that school site, Henry, you're at that school site, Elena, you build that relationship because you see, Sally or Jose every single day of the
Right,
week, rather than coming in 1 hour every 2 weeks. So
right.
Yeah.
definitely, you guys are key on these campuses. You're key in what you're doing
Mhm.
now, and thank you again for everything that you do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
With that, I want to close us out. Want to mention that we do have some more live panels going on. I've got some more of your colleagues coming on Tuesday next week. We're going to be at 10:15 in the morning. We're going to have, let's see here, Heriberto Herrera, Michelle Rowe, Patrice Lopez Dari, and then we're also going to have Ashley Shantz, and I believe they're going to talk about grief. The grief services that we offer through mental health services in our
Mhm.
department here.
Mhm.
And then also, I'll share, you guys may not catch this, but there's one thing that we do in the community. One of the people that used to work at La Quinta High School, Elena, her name is Chef Mary, and I'm sure if you brought up her name on campus, everybody would know who you're talking about.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
she retired a couple years ago, and what we do is every, was it 2 times a week, we have a show called Morning Coffee with Chef Mary, and we bring on some of the community partners that we've worked with in the past. And tomorrow we're bringing on at 9 o'clock in the morning one of the past chefs that we worked with, and one of those students that graduated 2 years ago, who is now a line cook over at the JW Marriott working full time. So we got some fun, exciting Facebook Lives coming up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're trying to
Absolutely.
keep everybody engaged, and you know, the thing with mental health, you need to see people too, right? You want to
Yeah.
be with people, so that's what we're trying to do, most
Definitely.
definitely. But hey, thanks guys, I greatly appreciate you being here. Have a good one. We'll see you
Thank
later.
you, John. Bye,
Bye.
Henry.
So the broadcast has ended, guys.